Okay, well, welcome everybody. We're here with Cameron Communities to do a little bit of a Streetscape Q&A walkthrough, bit of an education for Aaron. Just so I get a little bit of background, Aaron, how long have you been using Streetscape, so I have an idea?
I guess the past 4 years, 3 or 4 years.
Okay, so you've been doing it for a while. And the primary activities you get involved in typically look like what?
Just very basic. Like I'm more or less just looking at the status of the like the final the final
For lot inspections.
the lot inspections and the final acceptance. What are they called now? I'm sorry, I'm totally blanking.
No.
Well, I do upload like the FAC I guess damages that we're charging back to the builders. So I guess I dabble in the like pre-construction lot inspection forms, uploading like FAC damages that we need to be compensated for, and then just seeing the status of the like the final approval certificates. So very basic, really.
Okay.
I haven't really gone in depth, I suppose.
No problem. Well, that's the most common pattern for adopting Streetscape is kind of a progressive one where you jump in with something small that you need it for right away to solve a problem, and then one of us around here typically harasses or encourages people to look at the next thing or something else, and then each year you kind of go along and go a little bit further. So that's super common as a way to adopt it. And I was having a drink with Justin here, and he's like, "We should do one of those. Let's have a conversation." So here we go. Well, let me do my screen share here right now, as I promised, because I know you guys are waiting for that. Entire screen right there. I'll take some notes on my notepad. It's my favorite, Justin. I won't be able to see him anymore. Here we go. Okay. I'll zoom in a little bit here because I know that typically helps with Control Plus. Get that much. There we go. Well, I'm logged in. I'm impersonating you guys right now. We have the ability to do that, and that is actually a feature that we make available in general here. But I jumped in as Cameron right now, and I thought that I would spend most of my time talking. I can provide a bit of a general overview, but there was some questions that came up about how to make use of the inventory management and records management capability. Do you want to give me a couple of thoughts here on what you'd like to cover today with that one and maybe some others?
I think in terms of the inventory functions, those are in more of Justin's realm. So Justin, do you want to speak to that?
In regards to the inventory and stuff?
Yeah, so the record management capability, do you want to see it for a minute? I can give you a quick overview, pretty simple stuff.
You can just give us a quick overview kind of thing, just so Aaron gets sort of understanding of what the inventory, everything's about. I know for her, like she'll speak to this, but like it's more like tracking, like creating purchase agreements, like bulk purchase agreements, things like going out to the builders, tracking security deposits, the release of security deposits, all that kind of stuff. But of course, it all starts with the base of like the inventory of lots that we have in there. So yeah, I can give it a quick overview.
Okay, excellent.
Okay. Sorry, I thought that was more in terms of like tracking inventory and like reporting purposes and stuff like that. So
okay, well, let me start there, and this is a bit of an informal process here, so we can jump around a little bit, and feel free to jump in and ask questions as we go along here. If you see something that you'd like explained more, or if you're already an expert in some area, you can just we can go to the next one. Okay. So I logged in here and I came to the dashboard real quick, just with the history of, you know, we go back, we've dated since 2015. So we're coming up on our 10-year anniversary before too long here. That's pretty crazy. And you can see how the inventory on Streetscape has grown over time with you guys. I think it's exclusively in the residential side right now. And I am going to, you're probably pretty familiar with the basic menu. I'll give you a couple of quick pointers before we jump into these items here right now. One of the most common questions we get is around team management. You guys do have a license where you can have an unlimited number of users on the system, and you can come in at any time, click new user, and you can add some new ones. You can also manage existing users. Like if we wanted to just deactivate Justin, we can just boom, he's gone, no more access, it's completely out. Or we can go back in and go, you know what, I changed my mind, I think we'll keep him on the team, reactivate, and there we go. So that process is super simple. Feel free to use it. You can also see when people have logged in, etc. I thought I'd just check in here as well. I do see that Crystal, really, she hasn't logged in now for a couple weeks. So at least she's still there and doing stuff. That's cool. But if you want to manage people, it's a super easy process. And there's even a little video up here. I'm not sure if you guys are aware, but these videos throughout Streetscape are probably pretty helpful. They're different on every page because they instruct you on what and how to do things as you're moving around. And I strongly encourage you, as a supplement to this exercise, feel free to click and go. And in a few places, there is no video. And I get a message that says, hey, Aaron was looking for a video on this page and we don't have one yet. Can you put one there? So that happens too. So just so you're aware. And that's one way to get additional information about Streetscape capabilities. The last piece I'll show you before we jump into some of the features that I promised here is this support tab. That gets all the way over on the right-hand side. And the reason why Taryn and Rod are with us today from E2 is because they are officially your reseller. They represent you guys. They represent Streetscape to you guys. I'm here as the product expert, taking you through some features and capabilities. But whenever you need support or help, either from your team directly or from the builders, the E2 team is directed as the primary point of contact. So these guys are here, and they are almost as expert as I am. In fact, more expert probably on you and your project on the day-to-day goings on, because they have the benefit of working with you on ACs and other things as well. So that support link is there if you're looking for who to contact and who to talk to about different things. And there are a number of other training playlists in here too, Aaron. If you're desperately in the need for watching some YouTube videos, there are a number of playlists in here that provides information on how to do some other things. They're often, well, you guys don't have very many in here. Well, this video is going to join this list here. When we're done, I will post it and you'll find it up here in your video selection. But your internal playlist might have a few more. No, it doesn't. No, you guys don't have a lot of videos in here. Oh, we are remiss. You always have the Streetscape for residential developers video library over here as well. It's got a pile of resources in here on how do I do all this stuff. There's lots of things here. You can use the search feature to look for stuff or just browse at your leisure. So in following this conversation, feel free to make use of those other resources or just ask for help anytime, okay? All right, well, let's jump into the center of the Streetscape world. Is, all of this is a record system, and it's based fundamentally on your inventory records. And by loading the inventory page up here, and I'm just going to randomly select some lot in Saxony Glen, and I'm going to jump in here, and you get into the lot record. Now, I went in through the inventory area. If you go in through any of the activity channels, like if you're used to spending time, Aaron or Justin, inside of inspections or approvals, you can get to this record in through the same way. I'm on the lot information tab inside the record, and here you have what is the default record. You guys right now, I notice, have set up the default record. You can customize this record, by the way. I'll show you just a glimpse of that in a moment. But there, many of our clients really use this very comprehensively. Agreement numbers, agreement dates, possession, GST, payments, etc. Many of them have custom reports that actually on a touch of a button, you can say, I want a cash flow report. I want to have a payment report. I want to know who's overdue and what's happening. And you can get that stuff in the reporting area as well. There aren't any default financial reports. Those are custom reports, but they're relatively easy to do. But these records are maintained here to be able to track information on the status of lot receivables and some of that kind of information. They're the blue fields, by the way, are calculated fields. They're automatically calculated when information is entered in here, and they're updated. Any questions about this? This is basic information on the lot agreements and receivables, pretty standard. Then I will keep going. Some mortgage information, a tree program section, if you make use of that kind of thing. There's a couple ways you can manage tree programs inside of Streetscape to make things easier for you. Property tax tracker is good, of course. So whenever you have conveyance and you need to calculate the distribution of property tax, this allows you to be able to calculate that split pretty quickly. It's right there and in the records. Any caveat details? And probably for you, Erin, this area here is probably of real value. This is where many of our clients track the compliance deposits and all the details surrounding damages. Now, there's a couple components to this. Any questions here? You can find this yourself right away, by the way, under this FAC repairs sub-tab at any time and have a look at it. You can also change these fields. But this is a really common layout that our customers use without change. So soak it in, ask any questions about it, have a look at it later if you want to. Go ahead and play with it. But this is here to be able to track all that information.
Okay.
Sales information. Now these are purple here because these are shared fields right now. I'll get into that with you in a minute. I'm not sure if my screen is picking it up well, but these purple fields are meant so that builders can access these records as well. You can take any portion of your lot record and make it shareable to your builder group if you want to. This example here of these things is purple for that reason. In some cases, it makes sense to collaborate on fields. And there's also a bunch of custom fields you can have as well. There is a place under your company settings. Now, you don't really need to pay attention to this because it's a little bit more advanced, but I'm going to show you where there is some powerful stuff next related to this. I just opened up the people menu, and inside there is a data library and a data labels area. You can turn on or off any of those fields. You can change the nature of those fields, and you can customize the record to really meet your own needs. Most people don't go into that kind of depth to do that because it's a bunch of work to think through what fields do I need and how do I want to set them up. We usually help with that, but I wanted to let you know that capability is part of Streetscape. You can also change the sharing privileges as well to say who gets access to this field and how do you want to access it at the community, the phase, and the lot level. You can also set up some custom fields of your own as well and change the labels of those custom fields so that you can have your own information reflect exactly what you want to keep track of. So again, most people just use the default because it's kind of best practice and it's commonly used, but you do have this ability to modify some of these items as well. So your data record is super powerful and it can be really tailored to your needs. And not just do you have the ability to modify those records on screen. I don't know how much you are using our export capability, but I wanted to spend a minute just to touch on a couple aspects of it. Do you use our bulk import or export capability, Erin?
Currently, no.
Well, this might be very helpful because it's a big time saver. So I'll show you how this works. Let's say you had something you wanted to modify in Saxony Glen. I don't even need to check that off. I just have to go to export. If I hit the export button, oh, by the way, I should tell you what I just did. I went to the personal menu and I went to inventory setup. This is probably a place where you've gone because this is where you do things like modifying inventory, builders, consultants, some of that. But if I just start here from the property inventory screen and I click on the export button, I can, hey, give me all the lot records for Saxony Glen in all phases and all statuses, no matter what. And I hit OK. After a couple of seconds, my download icon is going to light up and I am going to get a spreadsheet.
Mm-hmm.
Now this is super small, but this spreadsheet now represents everything inside of all of your records. I chose every lot within Saxony Glen. And you can see here, there's a lot of details in here. This is really helpful if you want to take a quick look and say, oh, I'm missing some information, or if you want to change some information, a large amount of it really quickly, you can literally go through here and update these records. Now I'm going to change something just for fun, and I'm not going to accept. I'm just going to go to this civic address for a minute, and I'm just going to add the word test on the end of it just for fun. So now I am going to do a save as, because I'm going to keep my old file exactly as it was downloaded, because that's my backup. I'm going to type new, and I'm going to put it in the right direction. Downloads, save. I'm going to close this now, and then I'm going to do an import. Let's say I changed like 100 records, and I'm ready to import this. This is set up so that it's powerful, as you can see, but it's also fairly safe. We've done this in a way that I can go in and I can choose the new file that I've made either 1 or 100 changes to it. I can click open, and then I can go to the check for errors button, and it's going to do a bunch of work to look at my file. So it looked at my file and it said, hey, Aaron, I got 1 record that I'm going to change, and I can click and I can check it out, and I can say, is that consistent with what I did? It looks like here it's going to add the word test at the end of my civic address. Perfect. That's exactly what I was expecting. I can close this window now, and I can go back and I can click import. Now, I'm not going to do that because if I do that, I'll leave you with a strange looking civic address. So I'm just going to cancel this. But that's just an example of how easy it is to manage a large amount of data. So if you had maybe a spreadsheet from your engineers about some damages, you can go in there and just literally copy, paste, boom, boom, boom. It's really fast and really powerful together. That is much more so than the individual pages. Okay. But those work well too. So those are 2 ways in which you can manage some information. And any other questions about that before I go on to some of the workflows related to inspection data?
Going back to under the inventory, the lot info page. So I guess what I'm wondering in terms of the information under that, so the lot agreement. So again, we do a lot of individual lot agreements, but also bulk. So what would be the best way to import that information into Streetscape? Perfect.
So you have a couple of options here. If you were doing one option is to do the agreements inside of Streetscape. Okay. And I'll walk you through that workflow a little bit. Okay. And by actually building the agreements and deploying them inside of Streetscape, there is a couple of ways in which you can populate the data. Let me give you an example. So right now, and you can go play with this after we're done as well. If I go under documents, you have a couple of pretty powerful document capabilities. One of them is the really simple document library. It's a place to share folders and files with your consultants and builders, or them with each other. I'm certain that E2 within the AC process has some files in there. There's also one for media. And the most powerful one here is the document generator, because it's used to be able to assemble contracts. So the document generator is what I've loaded up. And you can see here right now, I've put a sample purchase agreement in here for you so I can show you exactly how this works. And feel free to play with it. You can go in and I can check off the agreement. So you can have an unlimited number of different agreement templates in here. You might have a standard PSA. You might have different PSA versions. I'm sure you guys do. Yeah. But I check this one off because this is the version that I want. And I say, okay, let's go ahead and create a document. Now you can see on top here, there's a stepper. The stepper says it walks you through here the six steps that are involved in making this, in creating a document. So here I choose my template. So I right now, yeah, I think I'm going to be okay. I'm on the production site. So this is live. I'll make sure I don't do anything here that I can't back out. So I'm going to select Daytona, for example, because I have to choose one builder. This template has been set up so that it is one contract, one builder. It'll actually give me an error if I say, okay, I want to do more than that. So I select Daytona, and then I say, well, which lots does this contract cover for Daytona? It could be one, it could be multiple. Let's take a couple of lots. You'll notice here that the assigned builder has already been placed here, so that you could go in and update the lot record, or maybe you haven't and you want to do a bit of a search for a specific lot that you're going to assign to Daytona in the process. Right now, we're going to take the ones that are already assigned. Say these are 3 that we have to put under contract. Let's go through. So here's the process of putting the information into Streetscape. So we're now at the, forgive me, we're selecting the sections first. Next, we get to the data. So this template has been set up with a number of options. So at the front, there's an option here to choose option 1 or 2 for the contact form, because there's 2 different ways that it could be laid out. You can see it's some other legal entity, care of Cameron Communities, or in this one, this actually would be populated from Cameron Communities. It's just the way in which the template author decided to build this. So I have an option. I'm going to choose option 1. There's 3 different ways I can select that first paragraph. And I'm going to move through. I'm just going to select option 1 in all of these sections. You can see right now how if you have a template for a contract, you might have a number of smaller versions of ways in which you'd modify. This one here gets into the payment structure. Option 1 was just 1 payment. Then you get into 2 payments, 3 payments, 4 payments. This is what the developer wanted in this particular example. But again, this whole document was customized. I think in this case, this was an actual developer's contract. They sent us the whole thing, and we worked with them on breaking it up into its sections and creating these options. So I'm just going to go through and select the options to assemble the document. Option 1 all the way along. Option 1. You can see right now that it's a little bit of experience with this. There are certain clauses you're going to want to include for certain builders in certain cases, and that's exactly what we're doing here right now. This could be a lot easier, I think, for some people's PSAs. They're really standardized, but this one's got about a dozen different places where you could choose between one provision or another. This is a little upload here. You can, in a minute, when we get to the next screen, we're going to be able to upload the schedule picture. And this is going to be done in a minute. So here we go. So we've gotten to the end of the agreement. And I'm going to go back to the top now. I've made all my selections, and I'm going to hit next. And it successfully, I did it right. So I went now to the next page. Now, you asked the question, Aaron, well, how do I get information into Streetscape about the contracts? There's 2 ways to do it. There's really 3 ways to do it. You can do it within the screen that I showed you at the beginning, entering the information into the fields. You can do it in the spreadsheet as well, because all of those fields that were in the spreadsheet are also inside of your record. And in fact, I'm going to show you in a minute. I forgot to show you something. There's a code. Every field in Streetscape has a code that matches the spreadsheet column. So there's a column called AA, and that matches the Streetscape field called AA. So you'll always know exactly where the data goes. And the third way to get data in is to actually populate this contract template, because as soon as I go in here, I clicked on this first field right here, the 2 field. There's nothing in the database, so it's blank. The reason, normally if you had populated a bunch of information about the builder, the buyer, the terms and details inside the Streetscape, it would have already pre-populated this agreement. Because it's not in there, it just says, hey, there's an empty field. And in fact, this one's requiring, if I enter some legal information in here for Daytona Homes, whatever legal entity they're using to buy these 3 lots, it's going to automatically update the Streetscape record when I do this. So I could put some information in, and I could hit save. It would both populate the agreement, and it would save it back to the Streetscape record. That same process exists all throughout here. If I have the total cost, it's telling you here exactly where this is coming from. I'm going to say, yes, please update Streetscape. I'm going to sell this for $500,000. This one. It's not calculated. There's a date, update. I'm not going to save any of these. You get the idea. I walk through and I populate the contract.
I get the idea, yeah.
Yeah, so there in essence is how this looks. I filled all the schedules. I can click to upload the subdivision plan, and then I go next. Now it's telling me that I haven't completed this job yet, so it's not going to let me go to complete it. This does save on the fly. So if I partially populated it and I left, I would go to the activity ledger and look right here. Here's that agreement that I'm in the middle of working through. I could come back at any time and I could click go and edit this. And I just would jump right back into that template and I could roll with it. If I was done, I could download it as a PDF. I could save it to the builder file. I could manage it inside of Streetscape entirely, or I could now send this to DocuSign or Adobe Sign or one of those others so that it could be finalized.
Okay.
So that is a quick flyby on document generation. For our clients who have used it, it saves a significant amount of senior level time doing proofing. I don't know what the policy is in your organization, but I'm guessing that Crystal has some responsibility or somebody there who's got, some a fairly full desk. It's their job to go through all these contracts. And I know that a bunch of the VPs elsewhere are just taxed by having to do markup. It's not a lot of fun. It's kind of repetitive. This is a time saver for both you and for them.
Okay.
I'm just going to show you really quickly what I was talking about around the bulk editing. I jump back into any of these lot records. And this little button over here that you might not have noticed before, you have to be an account admin. It's the highest level user on Streetscape to have the privileges to do bulk upload and to see this reveal code. We'll double check you in a minute. But here you see that this code, this is column B in the spreadsheet, column L, C. 3 means that it's a lot record, 2 means it's a phase record, and 1 means it's a property record. But these letters all match, and the deeper you go in, the higher they go up. So you'll always know if you're updating a spreadsheet where it goes or vice versa. It's a way to simplify that. Let's check your privileges here, guys. Team, we're going in the people menu, and under team. I see, Aaron, you are only an admin right now. You might not have, if you wanted to use bulk capabilities, I think I should upgrade you. Any objection to that?
No, that would be great.
Let's change this. I think I can do it because I am an account admin. Even though I'm impersonating you, I have the permission to do this. I'm going to bump you up. Perfect. You are now an account admin. Haha, Crystal is not. That's just because we don't want her to break anything because, some of these people that aren't there very often. There you go. So it is powerful, that bulk admin or bulk data management process. I strongly recommend. We do have backups, by the way. We do every time that you do a download. We take a copy in the background. So if you do break something, you can definitely contact support or any of us, and we'll help you out. But a really good practice is what I showed you earlier. When you create that file, do a save as before you upload. So just in case it gets through all the safeguards, and you're like, you can go back to your original file and effectively restore it.
Okay, good to know.
The only other caveat with that process is just be aware of anybody else who might be doing bulk updates, because if you have a crossover, you could kind of contaminate each other. Like, let's say Justin decides he's going to make a bunch of changes and you're doing the same thing, and you both download at the same time, and then whoever they effectively will override whatever changes might have occurred in the interim. So it's always a good idea to check with that. And most organizations kind of have, I'm guessing, kind of like you, sort of a central lot administrator that says, I'm the boss of this process. And so please, you come to me if you're going to mess with it. Okay. Any questions so far? Because I'd like to show you a couple things with the management of the inspection process, the damage recovery.
No, not so far. Please continue.
Okay. So I'm going to see if I got a sample in here. I don't think I do, but I'm going to go to the inspections area for a moment, and we're just going to take a look at what we have here. So you've got 3 settlement pendings, which have gotten themselves over 398 days old. You might want to, I'm not sure what's happening with this. They could have just been slipped through, but regardless.
We are still waiting for payment from Parkwood on those.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So they're still valid. I get it.
Yeah.
So you got this in here. Now, if I go to the document library here, oh yeah, here we go. We do have a final lot inspection form. So the document generator does a couple of things. You can generate PSAs and lots of other types of documents. Some people even do property and lot profiles for sales purposes, pull the information right out of the Streetscape and put it on a fancy looking PDF sales template. But this example here, this is a place where when you're inside of a lot record, you can jump over to the document library and say, hey, is there anything about this lot inside the document area that I can use or need to see? So this one has got the inspection form. Now I'm just catching up here for a second on how you guys are using this. Okay, you guys have. I recall now that we put this in place for you. Are you actively using this form, Erin?
Yes. So if you go back, you'll see the form that I actually uploaded for those Parkwood lots.
Oh, I did see it in the activity feed. Yeah, there it is.
Yeah. And so I do upload a sheet for each lot that has FAC damages associated with it before I send out the invoicing to the builders, just so everything's on record in Streetscape. So
totally love it. This is pretty good. You guys are using a generated form, so it saves you a little bit of time and energy to populate the information that's here. I see that this is how it comes out automatically. That's great. Any working issues with this procedure that you're following right now?
No, I mean, unless you can recommend a better way of doing it. You know, is there a way to populate these in mass and then upload them in bulk? Like that would be helpful, but
I'll give you a couple of other just maybe thoughts to chew on that others have used. So some engineering firms that often do the fielding work around this, they use Streetscape's fielding capability directly with an iPad, and they take the pictures in the field right into the lot record, and then they will enter all of the values in, and it'll populate the Streetscape record, the PDF form, and they hand that off back to the lot administrator to be able to then take it. So it depends on how you work with your engineering firm. If you're like most, that process exists in a handful of communities that I'm describing. If you're like most, you kind of get that big sort of spreadsheet, and you have to kind of pick and go through it a little bit. It depends. I mean, in that particular case, the developer directed the engineering firm to work with us. There was a more streamlined process, and it's been in place now for, I don't know, how long, Rod? Like 7 or 8 years since we put that in place originally.
Yeah, easy enough. I'd say 8 or 10 years actually with Walden down in South Calgary.
Yeah, and it's in place for a few, but it's a good example of, it's a change. So everybody put back a little bit on it, but once you kind of put it in place and everybody gets used to it, it just is really streamlined. It works well. So there's some choice there for you.
Okay, well, I mean, that's something I would have to just take back and discuss with our project managers and see if that option is even kind of available to us through our contractors, because I don't currently know.
Fair enough.
Okay.
Yeah, it's I guess it all depends on the engineering firm and if they're up for it. Like I said, we've had pretty good luck with a couple of firms that have done it, and they're pretty happy with the process, because if they're going out on site to do this thing anyways, it's not much more work for them to just take the pictures and upload them at the same time as they're going around, and that kind of streamlines their process in a lot of ways, and it helps you guys a ton, right?
Yeah, it would certainly streamline my process for sure. Yeah. Okay.
There's something else that you could do here, Erin, just quickly. You could connect your PDF with your lot record values, so that if you're doing, rather than grab this PDF and then I see you're manually editing the line items that are going in here, you could change your process and set this up so you go into the record and you type in a couple of these values,
Okay.
and those values populate this form.
Oh, okay.
So it's a slight difference to the process. We'd have to just sort of set it up so that it would do that. Just like when I generated this one in front of us, this pulled stuff, from the record.
Right.
You could do the same thing with a number of these others and then the total.
Well, then that would eliminate the need to download the form, populate it, and then re-upload it, correct?
Yeah, you could go to the bulk upload process, copy, paste, and organize the engineering spreadsheet right in there, save it to Streetscape, and then you can just sort of jump in here and download all these without manually populating them all. That's an improvement you could make for sure.
Okay, all right, that's great.
And so, and how we do those, because I don't think we've worked on a kind of a workflow procedure before. There's a simple change order process where we document, usually kind of one page. Here's the changes that we're going to make, and there's a total of X number of dollars attached to this one on the budget to as one-time cost to be able to do things. So you guys have a full enterprise license, so not only are there unlimited users available to you, none of the capabilities that you're seeing here cost anything extra. You have access to all the modules. It just depends on you on how you want to use them and then how you want to configure with some of those one-time charges. Sorry,
That's really good to know. Sorry.
I interrupted you a minute ago when I was just showing you that last idea. You were going to ask something.
Oh, just I guess on the other end of that, the builders are supposed to upload their pre-construction in lot inspection forms.
Supposed to.
Yeah.
So, so I mean, there are examples where you can find the information in there, but sometimes it's not always super easy to find, I guess. So do you have any suggestions?
So what do they have to, what do you guys ask them to upload, Aaron? Is it like a PDF form or pictures or?
It's a PDF usually that includes photos if they do have pre-existing like if there are pre-existing damages. I don't know if it's like a standardized form or if it's builders, like if each builder has their own form. Justin, do you know? Like, do we provide a form that they're supposed to fill out, or do they just have a form themselves that they use?
This is for lot inspection.
Pre-construction lot inspections that are supposed to be done by the builders.
Yeah, I'm guessing when they take possession of the lot, any damage that's happened before that is not on them. Anything after that should be on them as well.
Right. So I guess what they are supposed to upload those documents to Streetscape so that I can reference them if there are FAC damages, instead of waiting for the builder to come back and be like, oh, we have record of existing damages, and then you have to go back and change things. Like, it would be nice if somehow that information could be more readily available up front, but I don't know if that's a issue with the information just not being, maybe, I don't know if that's like just the builders not doing what they're supposed to do, or if the information could somehow be easier to input into Streetscape and easier for me to find in Streetscape.
I think I can make a suggestion on this one. There's this is a very common issue. We were kind of teasing you because it's like trying to get pre-construction confirmation is difficult. It's really, I think that a lot of the position of the builders is not in their interest to do that, because they would rather sort of argue it after the fact where there's a little bit more ambiguity or maybe space to be successful. And so participating in that ambiguity is an unfortunate reality. So a few people, I think we have one client who's fairly large, and they went to fairly extreme measures around this, and they created a workflow process that in my view is very complex, and they're struggling a little bit with executing it consistently. So I think that keeping it simple is important, but under the auspices of that idea, let me suggest something. I see already here that you guys have a workflow process set up this is in Kavanaugh, and it has a workflow state called pre-con review request. And setting up a simple procedure where you set this status and hit go, and then you send them a note. And you would send them a note here by simply going into, the easiest way to do this is to email them directly from the lot record. Sorry, go right here.
Okay.
And by clicking on this, click on this. So you could do a couple of things here. You could record that you sent them an email note. You could paste a copy of that email note in here, because having contemporaneous information inside of your record about what happened can be really useful. So this is just an example of a workflow change you might make. So let's say you come in here and I say, I just sent this email to so-and-so, and you can put it right in there. That's fine. We could also then change the pre-con review request right over here. So under pre-con review requests, I'm in your workflow design area, nothing you need to worry about. But if I was going to be maybe just tuning up your workflow a little bit, I'd be like, I think that if you set this to pre-con review request, I'm going to suggest that it expire after 30 days.
Okay.
And it's going to expire to pre-con review complete. And I can also set it up so it sends you an email.
Okay.
So it's just an example. Like you can see here, this is a kind of a powerful area. That's why it's a little bit complicated, but it's a really good example of a simple procedure that says that it doesn't completely solve the problem, but it adds some additional strength to the argument that says, we asked you on this date and time for the pre-con, here's the detailed information about that. And then what I would do is that I would then create a secondary procedure that a bunch of our clients have adopted. It's the formal dispute form. And the formal dispute form, if somebody ever shows up and goes, yeah, no, I don't agree with your $800 damage assessment, you say, well, here, let me send you the form.
Mm-hmm.
That form says right on top, were they asked for pre-construction information? Did they fail to respond?
Right, I just got in trouble for my receipts in Concur.
Sorry. Yeah, I'm in a meeting.
And so then you can sort of document in that dispute form the facts of the case as they exist. Because we found that builders tend to like to make a phone call high up and argue in very general terms for a reduction.
Mm-hmm.
And we have discovered that it seems that works less well when you have created a little bit tighter process where you've done that work and you documented everything, because then you put that form forward and it says, please document for us exactly what reasons you think the conditions that exist on this lot that justify a reduction to the damages.
Yeah, to make it simple, I think the idea here is that, you know, you if you let the builders know beforehand that they have once that flag goes up that you're waiting for them to submit their information, they have 30 days, and after that they don't have an option to do it, and then it's on them whatever damage has happened on the lot completely. Let them know that, and they're going to move pretty quick to do those things.
Okay.
We've found from experience.
So
yeah, that's really great, because we're finding that there's a lot of, well, not a lot, but a few that are just like the things have really dragged out for an unrealistic amount of time. So
let me, I didn't change anything to do with your configuration there, Aaron. I'm going to give you food for thought. And if you want to say, hey, let's talk about tuning up this procedure a little differently. Our process is we have an operating guide for you, and we break that out and describe your new procedure, and then we would program it in there for you, and then we would do a little recording session like this to make sure it was super clear. So that's you could ask at any time.
Well, I think also it might be wise to identify like kind of a clean start date. Like I wouldn't want to implement it at the mid stage or whatever, but kind of at the beginning of a project or the beginning of a new stage might be ideal.
You're not wrong about that at all. Whenever those changes occur, it does take some time to prepare everybody, educate everybody, and then pull the trigger. That's especially true if you're using any of Streetscape's compliance tools. And I wanted to just give you a couple of highlights here on how Streetscape can be used for forced compliance. And I have a fun little story with a client of ours recently, a large developer client, who kind of head office came and said, you know what, we think LotWorks is a good solution, and we would like you to implement it. And they've previously been using Streetscape. So the development managers kind of got together and said, well, we use Streetscape for a bunch of these things. And one of the most important things that Streetscape does for us is it allows us to force compliance of the builders to do certain things, whether it be pre-construction photo information, whether it be, more commonly it's things like submitting sales or traffic information as part of the, kind of marketing and financial tracking efforts. And what they found out is that LotWorks didn't have that capability. And they started to press on it a little bit. It's like, well, why can't we? Oh, sorry. What the capability is, our compliance capability largely revolves around locking. And Justin would be really familiar with this because I'm sure there's been a few times where there was some locked architectural approvals or some other activity because a builder was non-compliant with something or other. But this is a really very, very valuable tool. And I've got my screen up here, and I don't use this very often, so I'm going to find it. But there's a place where you can actually manually lock a builder so that if they're non-compliant with something, like if you've got a 300-day-old, collection procedure going, we find this especially powerful. If anybody's ever late on their bills, I mean, you guys it would never happen to you, so don't even worry. But if somebody's late paying, we can simply just put a notice up and we can suspend service in a click. That same kind of capability is available to you guys, where you literally could stop people from getting attachments, downloading information, or accessing key activities. And if as soon as you stop the progress of selling, you're going to get somebody's attention in a big way. Now, it can be severe, but it doesn't have to be. You can do this with a light touch or a severe touch. But the point is, our locking tools are one of the key differentiators. We kind of found out in talking to this, the developer ended up backing up their LotWorks implementation and coming back and doing the full implementation with us because they discovered a bit of a challenge that LotWorks has. They work for a lot of builders. They have a lot of builder clients. We have developer clients like you guys. The builders told them not to build any compliance tools. Now, I'm making that part up. I don't know that for sure. But they had a really weird series of conversations over the course of 90 days to say, can you guys please build this locking tool set for us? We need to ensure compliance. We need to do this. They ended up, let's just say, never giving a straight answer and ultimately throwing out a really huge number to try to get the developer to drop it. And that process caused them to come back to us and say, hey, you know what, we discovered something really interesting here. They don't work for the developer. They're trying to balance a difficult set of expectations between builders and developers, and it's challenging. And this compliance area is one place where we have some really powerful capabilities. And if you guys ever are in a situation where you're like, hey, Sean, we need to maybe talk about this compliance. How do we kind of, motivate the builders in the right direction? I'm not going to go into all the tools, but there are a bunch of them.
I was just going to mention, the few places where we typically see them are when builders are requested to send in sales or traffic reports from their sales teams. That's on a weekly basis, for example, and some developers, want that information on a specified date. So if they go past that date, the builders are automatically, just shut down from submitting for approvals for submissions in any way, and that gets them moving pretty quick. The other type of lock is a little different. There's locks for individual files on Streetscape. So, for example, when an approval gets completed, one of the final steps that a lot of developers have is, they have to see if the builder is compliant with, signing the paperwork, handing over checks, that kind of stuff. And so, for example, when we complete an approval or when somebody completes an approval on Streetscape, it doesn't get it's not automatically open for the builder to access everything. They can't get the files or anything like that until somebody from your team typically would go in and review to see if they have everything signed and paid for. There's a public lock right there that you see there.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So that can only be removed by the developer, and just like this, and people get notified of that afterwards. But yeah, that's another stopgap that limits their ability to go and build without final approval and final sign off on all documents.
And that's how easy it was a moment ago there. I locked Daytona out. I'm just going to undo it right now. It was as easy as dismissing Justin and bringing her back. But those are some powerful things.
Wow.
Okay.
Something
Yeah, that's okay. Awesome.
Purchase agreements, tracking, inventory record management. Okay, I went over most of the things that I had on my list. Did you want to touch on anything else? And again, there's a ton here. I'm only giving you a piece of it because it's kind of a natural progression, and some questions came up. I think LotWorks. I think that Stefan Nielsen probably prompted a question or two because he's very helpful in getting our customers to talk to us, because he'll go around and pull, and our customers will come back to us and go, "Hey, LotWorks keeps calling me about this thing. Can you guys do it?" And we're like, "Yep." And they're like, "Oh, okay, great." So then here we are again in this discussion. So was there anything else you were curious about?
Not that I can think of right now. Yeah, but that was really great. To be honest, I wasn't aware that those capabilities were available to us. So that will, I think, definitely streamline things.
So if you or Justin hear from Stefan Nielsen again, feel free to tell him that Streetscape is awesome, and it does a ton of things that LotWorks doesn't do, and so you definitely are going to stay with what you're doing. Just enrolling your help there a little bit. Stuff out there. So there is another little peel of the onion of some other things that Streetscape does, and what I thought I'd do is leave those with you, and if you guys want to talk internally about taking action on any of those pieces, we typically then do, like I said, a quick summary to let you know what it looks like and what the one-time costs are for implementing some of those kinds of things. But I try to give a bit of a flavor.
Okay.
Justin, you got anything to add there, buddy, other than a pirate hat?
Do I have anything else? No, you guys seem to be too professional today. Let's stay out of it.
Yeah, that's right. I got all formal on us.
Yeah, I don't like you formal.
Sean.
No, we had a good time in our last meeting, Aaron, when you didn't quite make it. We had some fun.
We didn't record that
Sorry
one.
about that.
No, we didn't record that one. I hope not, for sure.
That's right. Well, yeah, I think we probably fixed that.